Well, welcome back, friends. Another hour of Friday Live on this lovely July 8th, 2022. We thank you for staying with us. And if you're just joining us, thank you for popping in. We're going to be going to our gospel reading this hour at the beginning for the 15th Sunday in Ordinary Time. And our guest reflection today is by Dr. Scott Hahn. And then, well, we actually have two guests this hour. Our first guest, Kevin O'Malia, is going to talk about a special musical event taking place this weekend, I guess.
Right. A choral group from England is coming to town.
Jolly
and
good.
Passing right through our listening area from wherever you are. It's going to be easily. So we're looking forward to Kevin giving us the scoop on that.
Okay. And then later on this hour, Kristen Van Uden from Sophia Institute Press is going to talk about a book called Meditations on the Holy Rosary and the Power of the Holy Rosary. So we hope you can stay with us for that. But first, as always, my friends, we do begin with our gospel reading for this Sunday. Again, already the 15th Sunday in Ordinary Time. And then Dr. Scott Hahn will give the reflection. So here is our gospel for this Sunday.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. There was a scholar of the law who stood up to test Jesus and said, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said to him, "What is written in the law? How do you read it?" He said in reply, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your being, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." He replied to him, "You have answered correctly. Do this, and you will live." But because he wished to justify himself, he said to Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Jesus replied, "A man fell victim to robbers as he went down from Jerusalem to Jericho. They stripped and beat him and went off, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down that road, but when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side. Likewise, a Levite came to the place, and when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side. But a Samaritan traveler who came upon him was moved with compassion at the sight. He approached the victim, poured oil and wine over his wounds, and bandaged them. Then he lifted him up on his own animal, took him to an inn, and cared for him. The next day he took out 2 silver coins and gave them to the innkeeper with the instruction, 'Take care of him. If you spend more than what I have given you, I shall repay you on my way back.' Which of these 3, in your opinion, was neighbor to the robber's victim?" He answered, "The one who treated him with mercy." Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
This week, Jesus reveals the secret of true love, and it's found at the heart of the Good Samaritan. It's the divine love that dresses our wounds with the oil and wine of the sacraments, and it's waiting for you next on Breaking the Bread. We are to love God and our neighbor with all the strength of our being, as the scholar of the law answers Jesus in this Sunday's gospel. This command is nothing remote or mysterious. It's already written in our hearts. You have only to carry it out, Moses says in this week's first reading. Jesus tells his inquirer the same thing. Do this and you will live. The scholar in the law, however, wants to know where he can draw the line. That's the motive behind his question, but who is my neighbor? In his compassion, the Samaritan in Jesus' parable reveals the boundless mercy of God, who came down to us when we were fallen in sin, close to dead, unable to pick ourselves up. Jesus is the image of the invisible God, the epistle tells us this Sunday. In him, God's love has come near to us. By the blood of his cross, by bearing his neighbor's suffering in his own body, being himself stripped and beaten and left for dead, Christ saved us from the bonds of sin and reconciled us to God the Father and to one another. Like the Good Samaritan, he pays the price for us. He heals the wounds of sin. He pours out on us the oil and wine of the sacraments and entrusts us to the care of his church. Because his love has known no limits, neither must ours. We are to love as we have been loved, to do for others as he has done for us. joining all things together in his body, the church. We are to love like the singer of this week's psalm, like those whose prayers have been answered, like those whose lives have been saved, who have known the time of his favor and have seen God in his great mercy turn toward us. This is the love that leads to eternal life, the love Jesus commands of all of us. Go and do likewise. This is Scott Hahn for Breaking the Bread.
Breaking the Bread is a production of the St. Paul Center for Biblical Theology. If you'd like to receive written copies of Dr. Hahn's reflections on the Sunday Mass readings, you can contact us by email at staff@salvationhistory.com or call us at 740-264-9535. That's 740-264-9535.
Well, welcome back, my friends. And I thought that would be a nice, majestic piece to introduce our next guest. Joining us now is Kevin O'Malia. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Cheryl. Thanks for having me on.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be wonderful. Kevin is the director of music and organist at All Saints Church in Princeton, where a choir from Cambridge, England will be appearing and traveling through this weekend. So you're going to tell us all about that. But not only music director and organist there at All Saints, but I know you're involved in many things across the greater New Jersey. You've sung in ensemble at my church, and you're involved in East Brunswick. So how long has music been your just eat, drink, and sleep music?
Well, thanks, Cheryl, for that. And it's my pleasure to have sung for you at St. Magdalene's in Flemington. You have a great program, and it's always my pleasure to be a tenor for you. And I do eat, sleep, and drink music. I started as a boy chorister when I was 5. And when my voice changed, singing wasn't as easy. I went through some piano training and then eventually organ training. And so when I found my voice again, as boys usually do through the teenage years, we kind of find ourselves again when things all settle. And I love to play organ. I love to conduct. I love to play piano. And I love to direct choirs. So it is a livelihood and a passion of mine.
And such it is in the long line of tradition of English musicians and European musicians and the great masters as they start as choir boys and find themselves as an organist and a choir director. And speaking of Europe and England, tell us, my goodness, we have this phenomenal group, so blessed that we're able to view something like this without having to go to Carnegie or San Francisco or something like that. So tell us who, and I'm curious how you got so lucky that they'll be at All Saints and as well, and we'll get to the particulars. We'll give you all the times and locations, but tell us a little bit about Choir of Sydney Sussex College.
Sure, thank you. So anyway, my ties to the UK are quite deep. I've been over there to Great Britain 7 times myself as an organist and conductor. On one of the encounters that I had over there, I was resident organist at Christ Church in Oxford. And what happens is American choirs serve as the resident choirs when the cathedral choirs are on recess in the summer.
Yes.
These are usually week-long patterns, and in 2012, I found myself accompanying the choir of St. Peter's in the Great Valley from Malvern, a wonderful choir from suburban Philadelphia. And I met Dr. David Skinner, who directs the choir of Sydney Sussex College, very briefly while I was in Oxford. And through that connection and also through a couple other colleagues and friends of mine from my alma mater, Westminster Choir College, we were able to bring Sydney Sussex over here to Yardley and Princeton. They are now in the middle of a 2-week tour, and we are very honored to have them in the middle of some very prestigious stops that they have. They sang Evensong at the National Cathedral a few days ago.
In Washington.
They're going to be singing at St. Thomas, Fifth Avenue in New York, and also Church of the Advent in Boston. So the blessing that we have, as you know, Cheryl, is that we are in a great location. So if a choir is touring the Northeast Corridor, we are really the next stop on the line. So it all kind of fell into place.
Oh, this is amazing. What an opportunity, friends. And I know we're right up against the wire. I mean, we're literally talking about tonight and tomorrow. But hey, we're a last-minute society, right? What are we doing tomorrow? I don't know. Well, now you've got a plan because you're going to go to Princeton. So let's give them the all the particulars tonight in my lovely neighborhood, because I live right below Yardley. There's a lovely St. Andrew's Episcopal Church. Oh, so beautiful, right in the center of town. And so tonight is Evensong, and yet tomorrow's a concert. So maybe for those that don't have their language right in front of them, what is the difference? Obviously, evening song, could we say that's like evening vespers?
hmm Yeah, thanks. So the good thing of this whole weekend is that there are actually 3 occasions that you can hear them.
Okay.
The first is tonight in Yardley, and it is at a lovely parish right on Afton Lake, St. Andrew's Episcopal Church.
Yes.
And they are singing choral evensong tonight at 7 p.m. And God willing, the weather holds out. There's going to be a garden party following. And choral evensong, as you know, Cheryl, it's derived from the Roman Catholic daily office, and it's kind of how the Episcopal Church does it. You know, we do it our way. I did it my way, and you know, it's a form of evening prayer with canticles and prayers, and it's a nice way to kind of settle down.
Yes.
So it's a diversion for a Friday night, rather than going out to TGI Fridays for a margarita.
There you go.
You know, it's a very nice opportunity to just kind of take a pause.
Yes.
So that's tonight. Tomorrow and Sunday, we have at my own parish church, and we're doing a dual hosting between us and Yardley. People, parishioners from our churches are very graciously hosting this choir, taking them into their homes and giving them board and giving them food. And it's very, very much a blessing to have that form of ministry. But tomorrow night is a concert, which really is not a form of evening prayer. Rather, it's a presentation. Now, it will be still mostly sacred music. So if you are into sacred music and you can't be with us tonight in Yardley, it's going to take another form, but it still will be very sacred, inspired music from across the centuries. And then if you can't make either of those, our own choral Eucharist, which is going to be service of Holy Communion, Mass, if you will, if you're Roman Catholic. It's going to be on Sunday at 10:15 a.m., and the choir will be singing a full choral Mass, and that will also be live streamed as it will tonight, and you can go on the Facebook pages of either church and link into that if you want remote access. So 3 events, all followed by some gracious hospitality and food. If you feed them, they will come.
Yes.
Please come for wonderful food, wonderful music. There is a free will offering at any of these events, but if you need to just be there for free, be there for free. If you want to give, you may give.
And we'll just pray for their safety and on their travels, on their tour, and that they can enjoy the American food without too much distress, you know.
Absolutely. Well, you know, that's the great thing about cultural exchange is you get to be over in another country, experiencing how they live. I love doing that, going over to Europe and, you know, experiencing their food and their way of life. So it's a great cultural exchange, isn't it?
Oh, it's wonderful. So again, we're talking about St. Andrew's Episcopal Church in Yardley and All Saints Church, conveniently located on All Saints Road in Princeton. So I'll repeat all this information a little bit later in the show so they can get the particulars. And people can always, they know they can email me for this as well. Now, for the live streaming, do you go to those church websites?
You can go to either website. St. Andrews, I don't have the address in front of me, but I'm sure if you Google it, St. Andrew's Episcopal Church Yardley, and then All Saints Church. For my church, it's All Saints Princeton spelled out .org.
Easy
and
enough.
You can find a live stream on there for Sunday. You can also go to the Facebook pages, and we have links to go to our websites from social media.
And these choirs, I always find they just do a pristine job. And of course, there's nothing like being there live. You know, there's a feeling, the sound reverberates. It's one thing on a 2D screen, you know, but to be there live and just the electricity and the Holy Spirit, you know, just that ambiance. And it always seems like they do such a phenomenal job with the early centuries, Victoria, Byrd, Dupre, Gibbons. But then the long line, the tradition of English choral music, I right away think of John Rutter. Is there something, if we have a minute, Jim, do we have a minute or two? You see, Jim is very quiet because he listens to My Way by Frank Sinatra. I'm all about...
I see, I put the earworm in.
Yeah, he's all right. He's on your same page now. But yeah, I'm all about the 12th and 13th century. What could you say if I say, well, that long line of English choral music, how is that different from something like Mendelssohn and Brahms and Mozart and Beethoven?
Well, a great question, Cheryl, and it's a very particular way, and we, as Americans, actually are very closely, as we are culturally related to those friends in Great Britain, we are also musically related to them as well. So a lot of our American forms come right from England, right from the UK. So to answer a question on both sides, if we have a couple minutes, I can do that. So to start with things, the motet and mass and anthem in the English form are all, again, derived from the Roman Catholic propers and ordinary and the daily office. But in 1549, there was our first prayer book by Thomas Cranmer, and he actually adapted a lot of the Latin antiphons and Latin texts to a very proper English prose. And along with that, Tallis and Byrd, those were the two main composers, both of whom were Catholic, but then later Queen Elizabeth I loved them both. And, at a great period of strife, this was a great period of collaboration and uniformity, that they were Catholics, but they composed in both styles. So you get this English form from sort of think of this beautiful tradition of Catholic church music, which has spanned the centuries, as a trunk, and this great form of English Reformation writing is a direct branch from that. And then after that, you see this form, namely the anthem. The anthem really came from this English form, paralleled by the Lutheran traditions, but it spanned the centuries. And in the 19th and 20th centuries, we get the beautiful music of Stanford and Perry, and as you said, up to Rutter. And yes, they will be performing a piece by Rutter, who is a very, very well-beloved modern composer, very lovely tunes. And so you have that, and that really is a separate form from, say, Mendelssohn or Brahms or some of those other Romantic composers who specialized more in oratorio. Is more of a dramatic tradition, and that came from more Lutheran roots. So again, another branch out of this trunk, but a very parallel branch to English choral music, which we will be hearing a lot of this weekend.
Oh, Kevin, just brilliantly put. And I could talk about this for hours and listen to you teach us for hours. Just beautiful. But we see this music and this sacred music as a universal language. You're talking about the collaboration and the intermix in the early centuries between the Church of England and the Catholic Church, and then the Germanic, the Romanticism, and all of it's still used today. And whether they're coming from England or you're over there at Oberammergau, in whatever language, it reaches and touches our heart and our soul, and it moves us and it calms us. And I just think people, don't sit back on the porch tonight. You have to come out for evensong, pray on a Friday night. Oh, now there's a good idea. And then the concert tomorrow night at 7:30. So anything else you would add? I think we covered it all.
I think we did, and thank you for the time, Cheryl. I would just second that emotion, shall I say, to quote another popular tune, that this is an opportunity that does not come a lot, and you really, I really insist that if you have nothing to do tonight, please do come, because it's a great chance, and also it's a chance to support youth. These are all college-age students, and they are specializing in classical music and sung classical music, and they are one of the finest choirs on the face of the earth, really.
Yes,
they are so pristine and so good. So I would say that it is more than worth your time to venture out tonight or tomorrow or Sunday. Again, tonight is at 7, tomorrow is at 7:30 in Princeton, and on Sunday morning is at 10:15 in Princeton. It is so worth your time, and you will be both intellectually stimulated and spiritually nourished through it.
Absolutely. Amen. And if they came all the way from England, we could leave our little place in Bucks County or Flemington and drive over to Yardley or Princeton and give them a nice, warm American welcome. And united in prayer and song, my friend Kevin, we will stay in touch.
Absolutely.
And I have enough time now to buy a nice little garden party frock before tonight. So I'll see you there.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Cheryl. I look forward to seeing you tonight.
Okay. God bless you. Keep up the great work.
God bless, Cheryl. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, friends, you stay where you are. We'll be right back. We're going to have a wonderful teaching on the meditations on the Holy Rosary. So those of you who aren't familiar with the Rosary, stand by. We'll be right back. Don't
Thank
go
you,
away.
Jim. Mhm.
Whatsoever you do to the least of my people, that you do unto me. When I was hungry, you gave me to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me to drink. Now enter into the home of my Father. Whatsoever you do to the least of my people, that you do unto me. When I was homeless, you opened your door. When I was naked, you gave me your coat. Now enter into the home of my Father. Whatsoever you do to the least of my people, that you do unto me.
When I was weary, you helped me find rest. When I was anxious, you calmed all my fears. Now enter into the home of my Father.
Whatsoever you do to the least of my people, that you do unto me. When I was laughed at, you stood by my side. When I was happy, you shared in my joy. Now enter into the home of my Father. Whatsoever you do to the least of my people, that you do unto me.
My family left the church because of a very negative experience with a specific priest, and that took my whole family away from going to church for a long period of time. There were other Catholic churches, and there were great Catholic churches and great priests, but we stopped because of that one specific instance. And in a way, I was cheated out a big part of my journey in my life because we weren't in the church. In life, it seems like we're always enslaved to something. And I think that's basically what our culture is all about right now, is we are enslaved to power or to greed or to wealth or to lust. but there's a true freedom to not be enslaved, but to attach ourselves to God and to be free. My involvement in the church, my relationship with God is who I am. It's what gives me my identity. Thank God I'm home.
If you've been away from the Catholic Church for whatever reason, we invite you to take another look. Visit CatholicsComeHome.org today.
A lot of people think that street evangelization involves yelling out of a bullhorn telling people that they're going to hell. Not so with St. Paul's Street Evangelization. Our methods are non-confrontational and effective. We simply offer information on the Catholic faith along with rosaries, miraculous medals, and prayer. Pope Francis wrote about how beautiful it is to see street preachers joyfully bringing Jesus to every corner of the earth. Street evangelization is fun and fruitful. Join us today at streetevangelization.com.
60 Seconds with Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen.
Peace be to you. What is prayer? Well, the best definition of prayer is that it is a lifting of the mind and the heart to God. To make it more simple, prayer is a dialogue. Man breaks silence in two ways. A dialogue with his fellow man, and a dialogue with God. My dialogue with a fellow man is a proof that he is a person, and so am I. The same is implied in a dialogue with God. And both of these dialogues are fulfilled in the two commandments: love God and love neighbor.
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
Well, welcome back, friends, on this lovely July 8th. Happy to have you here. Kristen Van Uden serves as an author spokesperson at Sophia Institute Press. She received her MA in History from the College of William and Mary and her BA in History and Russian from St. Anselm College. She studies the persecution of Catholics under communist regimes, and she has been featured on a wide range of media platforms, including right here at Domestic Church Media. And today she's going to talk about the book Meditations on the Holy Rosary. Welcome to the program, Kristen. Welcome to have you. Happy to have you back.
Thanks so much for having me back.
Well, it's wonderful. I'm a little intrigued about the book itself, but also about the author, Reverend Don Dolindo Ruotolo. He's a Don, the Don.
Yes.
Don, that's right.
Tell us a little bit about
Good
him.
Italian pronunciation there.
Well, I try.
Yes. So Don Dolindo, as he's known, meaning, of course, Father Dolindo, was born in 1882 in Naples. He lived his whole life in Italy. And he was a contemporary of now Saint Padre Pio. And Padre Pio said of him that he was a living saint. So high praise, if there ever was any.
Mm-hmm.
He was a mystic. He was given visions. He's currently declared servant of God. So his case has been opened for canonization, and it's on its way. And he wrote quite a bit in his lifetime. This is the second book that we've published of his at Sophia. The first was on the afterlife, where he discusses purgatory and heaven and the soul's ascent through purgatory into heaven. And he died in 1970. He was actually paralyzed for the last 10 years of his life. His name, Dolindo, comes from the word for pain in Italian and the Romance languages. And so another of the comments that Padre Pio made on him is that his entire life, of all of this physical suffering especially, that he experienced was basically a walking icon. He offered it all up and offered himself as a victim soul. So he definitely displays a lot of the same traits as Padre Pio, one of those great Italian saints from, of course, a great devotee of the Rosary.
Mm. And we know, of course, the power of the Rosary. In fact, I was just reading today, again, something by Padre Pio on just the power. He used to refer to the Rosary as his weapon. And I know for me personally, I do my best to meditate on the mysteries, because we know the Rosary really is based on Scripture. We're meditating on all these beautiful Scripture passages. But did Don Dolindo have any insight on how to prevent your mind from wandering, a better way to pray, maybe?
He does, and this is what makes this book so unique, is that often we meditate on the Rosary by meditating on the events of the mysteries themselves, which of course is very good to do, But also, the way this book is structured, he writes it as if it were a conversation between Jesus and the soul. So each of the mysteries has a passage where Jesus is speaking directly to the soul and then a response for us to say. So as we're approaching 3 o'clock here, I'll read, if you don't mind, from the meditation on Jesus Dies on the Cross here on Friday. So, Jesus, gaze on me crucified, and all your pains will become sweeter. Don't be afraid. From my cross, I open my arms of mercy to you, and I save you. Trust in me. You are not on the wrong path, because it is I who am leading you on your way with special love. Be at peace and come to me. Stand at the foot of the cross, sacrificing yourself for me. And then there's a response that we can say, my Jesus, make me faithful to you until death. Let me be like the holy women who always followed you with a lively faith. Keep me like them, committed to your truth. So what this is really doing is placing us there at the foot of the cross. So we're not just thinking about a third event. You know, it's literally a relationship between Jesus and us to make more real what we know is real, that he died for us specifically.
So, Kristen, this really then is a book of meditations that Don Dolindo had written and you've compiled as a companion to when praying the rosary?
That's right. Yep. So some of these were written specifically as rosary meditations. Others were taken from his many sermons on these particular topics. And some were also taken from his letters to his spiritual directees. So right at the beginning, he addresses one of his spiritual directees, telling them just the richness of the rosary. That's the title of the first chapter here. So he knew how to communicate to everyday people and to the souls that were placed in his care. So that is the way that he approaches the reader as well.
And I see in the description that I have in front of me here, Kristen, the book also features excerpts from Don Dolindo's mystical writings on the Annunciation and on the visitation of Our Lady to Elizabeth. What are these mystical writings? How do we define them, and how are they explained?
Yes, so this is at the end of the book. So after I would recommend praying with the book. So after you pray the rosary with the shorter meditations, there are some longer form meditations that he structures somewhat similarly. So the Annunciation, he has a section where Mary speaks directly to the soul, and he speaks in the first person, where she says, my profound humility did not lead me to think about this extraordinary action of God in me, the miracle of his grace. And so he again places you in that very personal relationship with Our Lady, as he did with Jesus. And it's unclear, we know that as a mystic, he did have visions throughout his life, and it's unclear whether these came from those directly or they are just his own writings on these mysteries in order to make them more real and more tangible.
Right.
But he goes into more depth with lots of imagery and a focus on the virtues that Our Lady, especially her humility and obedience, displays within these mysteries to give us a way to delve deeper into thinking about the mysteries objectively, and then to bring as well that subjective element in with the dialogue and conversation of prayer, because he emphasizes throughout the book that while we make supplication to Our Lady during the rosary, she also does speak back to us, and it's an opportunity for her to take us by the hand and lead us. The rosary is known as Our Lady's Psalter because it numbers 150 Hail Marys on the 10 decades, which is the number of the Psalms. And so we're really uniting all of salvation history in this one prayer.
We're talking with Kristen Van Uden from Sophia Institute Press about the newest, one of their newest publications, Meditations on the Rosary, based on the writings of Don Dolindo, Father Don Dolindo Ruotolo. I love saying these names.
I know, you have a good time.
I have a good time. They roll right off my Italian tongue. That's it.
That's right.
And of course, their website is www.sophiainstitute.com. And as I said, Kristen, I think these days, especially understanding the power of the Rosary, the importance of the Rosary, and even our Holy Father has, told us, as every Holy Father has, pray the Rosary daily. We're instructed, but I think sometimes people may get a little frustrated because it becomes too rote and it becomes just you're reciting, and although the intent is there, the application or the actual praying of it sometimes gets with distractions and mind wanderings. This is a great a tool to have again, the book is called Meditations on the Holy Rosary with these writings of Father Ruotolo.
And certainly a great opportunity to deepen your rosary prayer experience. I know myself, and I plug right into that, Jim, with the repetitiveness that I'm saying it, maybe not out loud, like I'll be driving and I pray the rosary, but I'm not really, I could be thinking of other things, and it's, but a little bit of multitasking. So I feel like then you're just saying words. You're not really praying because you're not meditating on anything. So this sounds like it's just for me that I can refresh and renew and take on, the rosary in a new light, and even in a deeper way to bring it to, a deeper meaning, a greater devotion. And of course, we're always trying to grow in our faith and follow the way of the Lord and get closer to Him. So this is a way to rekindle that passionate love for the Rosary and our Holy Mother.
Exactly. And Don Dolindo even addresses that complaint that many of us have, that we feel that prayer, especially repetitive prayer of the Rosary, can seem monotonous. And he encourages us to think of it as a musical variation. He writes of the variations of the Hail Mary in the Rosary are like musical notes that if you heard them all individually, they wouldn't make any sense. And of course, each individual Hail Mary does make sense and is self-contained, but it can seem like just pressing the same key on the piano, whatever. Keep going with that. But he talks about how, as we take the journey of the Rosary, as we go through the mysteries, it is creating a tapestry. And he writes directly on this question, saying, the Rosary is not a monotonous mumbling. It is a marvelous harmony, just as a musical instrument does not play a dull repetition of a note, but a melodic and harmonious variation which raises the soul and arouses in it as much affection and sweet and pure thoughts. Like the vibration of waves. So it's a beautiful way of framing it.
That speaks to my heart. I know, it absolutely does. And you could look at each decade, as these mini movements, these separate, and then the 5 decades into the final symphonic suite, or, however you want to look at it. But it is a beautiful prayer. But how lovely that also you include artwork, which those that have a pictorial mind and like to do things in a visual way, you can also look at the artwork as you pray, and that too, that works wonders for many people to draw them in.
Exactly, and I'm a very visual person, so I love, when I pray the Rosary, either finding YouTube videos of sacred art or, curating your own collection of slideshows or something. But this is why devotionals like this, with full illustrated pictures, are very helpful. And they're consistent too. They're all, I believe, from the same collection. So they bring you on that almost musical journey with giving you something to distract your eyes and not let your mind wander by focusing in on the mysteries. And I think the other thing that is emphasized in this book, especially as a new way of framing the Rosary, well, not necessarily new, but maybe new for some readers, is that we are reminded that the Rosary is also a spiritual weapon, and that it is this beautiful, we are giving flowers to Our Lady, a beautiful, gentle weapon, but also it is the spiritual weapon of our times that we use in our defense against the attacks of the devil. So it is responsible, actually, for the winning of a battle. Our Lady of Victory, named after the feast of the victory at the Battle of Lepanto. So the Rosary has these many facets to it. It is he speaks of three images to keep in our mind as we contemplate not only the images of the mysteries, but the images of the Rosary as a whole: music, a garden, and then a spiritual battle in which we arm ourselves with this Rosary, which is Our Lady's weapon of choice.
Beautiful.
And it's been coming to me from different corners, this Father Dolindo. His name has been coming up.
Don Dolindo.
Jim can train me on that later. We'll work on it. But someone sent me, like my prayer partner from another state, she sent me a beautiful, like to commend your spirit to the Lord, and all your trust. And it's a beautiful prayer card, like a novena for 9 days of just, commending yourself and putting all things, God, I trust in you that you're going to take care of everything, release my fears, release my anxieties. But I believe it was a prayer from Father Dolindo. And I was looking for it in my briefcase, but I'll look at it. It must be at home on my nightstand. But I know that's where it came from. Yeah.
You're right. Yep, that's called the Surrender Novena.
That's the
and
one.
That's probably what he's most well known for, actually.
Okay.
He has a surrender prayer, and then you can say it on the beads of the rosary, actually, and then it's very good to make it as a novena as well, where I think what you recite, if I'm remembering correctly, on each bead is, Jesus, you take care of it.
Yes.
So just a complete act of giving over your will, even if you have no idea what the outcome will be or if it's even possible.
Right.
A daily practice of surrender to God's will.
Yes.
Well, this sounds like Don Dolindo is calling to us,
Yes, he's going somewhere.
speaking to us here.
Yeah.
You say he was a contemporary
That's
of
Padre Pio.
a contemporary of Padre Pio. Was he from the same area where Padre Pio? Do you know?
I forget which town Padre Pio lived in.
Well, he was in San. He was obviously eventually in Giovanni Rotondo, which is in, by the way,
Right.
which is in the Archdiocese of Manfredonia. In case you didn't know that.
Oh.
This is why I'm asking.
Too many coincidences.
I want to find out more about Don Dolindo and his
Yes.
cause. Maybe we need to start invoking his special
Right.
special intercession.
And go there again.
That's
Go
right.
to that beautiful part of the country.
Well, Kristen Van Uden, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing the news on this beautiful compilation. Again, friends, it's called Meditations on the Holy Rosary. It's published by Sophia Institute Press. Their web address is sophiainstitute.com. You can find out more about this and so many other great publications. And Kristen, thank you again for being with us today.
Thanks again. Have a great weekend.
God bless you.
You
Thanks.
too.
All right, friends, and you stay where you are. We're going to, whoops, there you go. I'm knocking things all over the place.
Okay.
All right, we'll be right back. Don't go away.
60 Seconds with Mother Angelica.
Is your life so fast that you cannot see a sunrise or a sunset or pass one of these places in the country that have all kinds of little flowers? Have you ever stopped and just walked through them and said, "Whew, our God is wonderful"? So you're so caught up in gadgets. Rush, 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 rush. And you're living and you're not living. And you're getting older, but you won't admit it. I have a real problem with somebody say, "How old are you?" They say, "But I don't talk about my age." Well, if you let me guess, it's going to be worse. Isn't it?
The people you know and trust are on EWTN. 60 Seconds with Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen.
The only reason of being free from something is to be free for something. Freedom, therefore, is not liberation from the truth. It is rather the acceptance of a truth. When are you really most free? When you know the truth about anything. For example, you are free to draw a triangle on condition that you give it 3 sides and not 33. You are free to draw a giraffe if you draw it with a long neck. If you do not obey the truth and the nature of a giraffe and you give it a short neck, well, you find that you're not free to draw a giraffe. Now, that's what our blessed Lord meant when he said, the truth will make you free. Now, our truth, therefore, in the church is a truth that has come down to us from Christ.
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
Well, we're back. Thank you, Kristen, again for sharing with us the information and news about Meditations on the Holy Rosary. Beautiful compilation. Don Dolindo. I have to find out more about Don Dolindo.
Yes, the Surrender Novena.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard of that novena.
And I feel like he either was a spiritual director to Padre Pio or maybe his confessor, but there was a definite close relationship.
We'll
have to
look him up.
and get more
I
information.
have to start
about
invoking his special intercession. Maybe he too was from the Archdiocese of Manfredonia.
We
I
will.
have a couple of friends over there.
We'll do a little bit of homework and keep you abreast on what's happening with Don Dolindo.
Don Dolindo Rotolo. Italy is all opened up now.
Everyone's going there. Everyone.
It's all opened up. And I was looking, just this morning, we were kind of going through some things, and I was looking at Airbnbs in Rome. And you can find these. I mean, literally, one Airbnb was on the Via della Conciliazione, right? Which no longer has traffic leading up to the Vatican. That's all
right,
pedestrian.
it's the road that takes you right to the front door. Mhm.
Right there. and there was one right outside the colonnade on another, and like $150 a night, $55 a night, one of them.
Unbelievable.
Beautiful, and they're lofts, and the windows are open. You have a little balcony you can
Maybe
overlook.
sit and look at the Vatican. I know people who have done that Airbnb overseas, especially Rome.
Yeah.
And they say it's wonderful, it's successful, it's easy, and it's so much less than a hotel. And there, you know how easy it is to get your cereal and milk for breakfast and not have to worry about trying to find breakfast or something.
Yeah.
Or a quick sandwich, and then you have your dinners out. But space to spread out and feel like you're living, like we spoke with earlier, you're living in the culture, you're living in the neighborhood, you hear the neighbors, you see them coming and going.
Yeah.
Like really getting fully immersed in what's happening.
Our last pilgrimage to Italy was in 2015. That's a long time ago. That's when we went to see the Shroud of Turin and then worked our way down to Rome.
And we haven't been back since?
No, we have to get back
Well,
there.
inexcusable. How long will our passports take? Because they expired.
I know. We have to get them renewed. They say it's taking a while, but you can get it expedited if you really want to go.
I think everything stopped during the pandemic, but
Yeah.
so maybe now they're playing catch up. It still might be.
Well, certainly be worth the effort.
Absolutely.
Because we were just over on 4th of July, we were talking to my cousin who had gone to over there in Germany. What's the
Oberammergau.
Oberammergau.
Right. Yeah, he
said-
did. Austria, the Swiss Alps. the
But he
whole
said
thing.
that particular production was very nice. But it was like 10 hours.
Well, maybe not 10, but maybe 8.
Oh, 8, 10
But
in German.
The most fascinating part, I know, but the thing is, you know the story. You don't have to understand the language.
Yeah.
But there is a program, and you have the text, the translation. But the thing was, as many of you know, that particular village in Germany, all the villagers participate in the play. So they're the townspeople, or they're Jesus or John the Baptist, whoever it is. And then there's a 2-hour intermission because they take a dinner break. Those actors throw off
back
the
to their
frock
shops.
and run to the restaurants. And our cousin Will was having dinner, and he's looking at the guy. Boy, if you don't look familiar, and he goes, "Well, I'm John the Baptist in the play, and I order quickly because I have to get back to them."
Yeah.
So they do. They go and they tend to their shops, but I mean, they do it out of such a passion that they have for the whole.
Now, many of our listeners who participate in the Radiothon know my cousin Will because they speak with him when he's one of our volunteers. So next year,
You can ask
during the
him
Radiothon,
about-
ask him about Oberammergau and see. He'll tell you great stories.
And John the Baptist served
And
him
John the
dinner.
Baptist. But there was one who he said he nailed Jesus to the cross. One of the guys
Yeah, I think he felt kind of bad about it.
felt bad about it.
But what
as
an
you
honor
should.
to have that role. I mean, they grow up waiting for their opportunity to be in this play.
Yeah.
Cast of hundreds and hundreds.
Well, I don't know if I could sit through 8 hours of it, though.
It is a long.
And it's a big space. Like, what if you're way, way, way in the back? I saw the space. It's a very, very large space.
You
know?
would need binoculars, right?
I would think so. All right. Well, thank you all for being with us today, and all of our guests and participants and everybody who joined us. And we hope you have a great weekend. And I will be with you again, God willing, on Tuesday. We'll be back next Friday for more Friday Live. So have a great weekend. God bless you.
Bye now.